and then start collecting stamp, cover, birthday cover, banknotes since 1950. Travel a lot when he was young, and now he's 75 years old.
Yes.
Today we celebrate
76.
Today exactly your birthday.
Yes.
Today is his happy birthday.
Yay! Birthday, Mr Christopher!
Email or and they bring a selection of interesting topics, all types, qualities, and that's why I chose some of these topics. And the few of them this stamp, like this stamp, because it's a very common stamp, but we make a nice display of this when it explains it. This is the tiger stamp of Malaysia. And it's a very popular stamp, it's very common, but they made a thing about it now. Now, this is the tiger collection on letter. This is probably the philatelic one because it's to Mr Windrop in Singapore, but it's still probably one of the few usages of all three stamps on the letter. Yes, pass them around. Now we show, this is the, I don't have many modern covers, but these are good because they're Malacca. Malacca is used, is quite rare, especially first day covers. First day covers in Malacca are very rare. And this is, but it's a first day cover, which is quite unusual. Quite unusual. This is a very early issue to be with a first day cover. This is George VI again. This is Malacca here, again Malacca, a first day cover of this issue. It was the second issue issued in George VI, issued later. This is interesting because it's a postcard to Shanghai. Shanghai, but it's used when the British forces were in Shanghai before the Second World War. And they were based at the Kerwai Hotel along the Hun in Shanghai. And this is an actual card sent from the British forces. The interest of this card, the card is nice, but it's very good use with the forces because it shows the postal history of Shanghai. And I'm trying to do a book on Shanghai, the money to Shanghai and the postcards of Shanghai. So this is one that I'll illustrate today. Now these two very interesting, beautiful covers are from England, but they're Valentine's Day cards. So if you knew a nice lady, you'd send a nice card like this, enclosure. Remember, this was done over 100 years ago. And this is very beautiful writing. And it's done the first lady, millionaires lady in 1890, was an American lady who made these valentines and produced the colour with dyes. The first time we used colour when everything was in black and white. So this is the first example in colour. And it's this is very beautiful with the flowers. And the valentines come in all different sizes. There's no really Malaysian valentine, only today's valentine. But only a few countries have valentines. England, America, a little bit in Germany, some in Poland, some in Scandinavia, but very, very few. And no card really from the Asian area. And they didn't really celebrate Valentine's Day until today. This is very interesting. This is China, but it's addressed to the government in exile. I also show you it's addressed to Free China. Free China. This is important because it's the government in exile in in Australia. It was based in Australia at that time. This is from the situation with Taiwan. So we want to have a look at this cover here. And this is also addressed, to free China. These are two very interesting covers from Shanghai, China. They're addressed. So this is what it's. He was the world's second heart transplant patient in South Africa. We had it in the 1960s. We had the first heart transplant. This is the second man to receive a free heart. The second man. So you always have to look at your cover to put their address in, because the covers themselves are not wonderful, but they're still quite good. This is the silvery one. Quite nice. Talking of China, here's the same thing here. This is two covers here. This cover is sent before the official date. I think it stands issued in China before the date is in the capital. So this is also very interesting. Then we come here, I like to illustrate in a few parts. Here we have a Chinese history. Early stamps of China. Here we have the long nails done in the postcard, and here we have Vietnam Chinese making the duck. It's quite interesting. This is Hong Kong. This is the banknote Marquis Way issued their own banknote. It's a small enclave in China. When we had Hong Kong was the British area, Macau was Portuguese, but there was Marquis Way as well, which was a port. This is the stamp issued in Hong Kong, we cancelled it Marquis Way. But Marquis Way also had its own banknote for issue during the Great, and especially during the Great Upheaval in China, when so many banknotes of China, every bank was issuing notes. Now I show the banknotes, I show Marquis Way. This is rocket note. I have another cover here somewhere, rocketry. Okay. I have a photograph now in rocket frame, rocket mail. They developed in the 1930s to put the post in a rocket. Shoot the rocket in the Himalayas. They thought it was easier to send the mail. It's like a missile technology. And in Germany, they had a very good system. They also used rocket mail. The problem was the rocket burnt up to the letter inside. It was incinerated. But these were small consignments sent in Seksyen in Bhutan. And they managed to fire these rockets. Some of the cards were okay. But this is why I want photographs in the cover. Rocket mail is important. We didn't have rocket mail in China, but we know of. They did use rocket experimentally in China. But we don't know yet if any covers they sent missionaries. It's only in India, in Germany, and in Britain, and in the Netherlands, where the Netherlands also has a rocket mail, and the two different options. But the main countries where they use Bhutan, Seksyen, Nepal, where they have the high mountains, and in Scotland, where they wanted to send rockets to the islands out of Scotland being in the north of England. And here we come on to, again, a different group of colours here. This is Victoria, which is Antarctica, but New Zealand stamps were overprinted for use by the expedition. So this is very interesting. It's a registered letter to England reporting cancelled on this the New Zealand Post Office there, but it's addressed to Conrad Fry. Now Fry was a great humanitarian man. He provided the chocolate for the expedition, but he also was a Quaker and didn't believe in war, and he had lots of promotions to help stamp collectors. Because when I was young, I won chocolate for life, for winning a prize competition in stamps. I don't get it now though, but it was lovely chocolate bars, and unfortunately the prize were taken over by France or somewhere, so it's not the same. The chocolate bar, everybody in my era loved the chocolate, because after the war we had no chocolate and it was rationed. So when I won this great hamper of chocolate, everybody, all of my school friends, what did you know? It's true. This I showed you this one because this is a cover. This is British Jaya, which also has the world's rarest stamp. This kind of cover shows how to explain what the country is. So this is in the Caribbean. We have a map of it showing where the country is, and then we have this is British cover used in British Guiana, but it shows a little bit about Guyana, it shows about the history of the country. So people who wouldn't know where British Guiana, it's now called Guyana, they get an idea, they can look at the atlas. So this is another reason why I say to the young here, interested in stamp, it's more than just about stamping an album, it's looking at letters, postcards, history, because you never know what the future lies. When I talked to Chung Ling High School, I showed them my banknotes of very important 900 million yuan, and I said, you take this to the bank in China now, they should give me 450 million ringgit. But of course they won't. But, I say you learn mathematics, you learn geography and history. So this is why philately it's such an interesting hobby, and so many people are collecting. It's more than just putting a small stamp into an album. We did this to start with, but now people are more sophisticated. They're interested, the young people particularly interested in aeroplanes, rockets, trains, war items. So everybody's interested now in philately a little bit from the wider area. And so I tried to illustrate this. And here, this is not a rare cover, but it's from Thailand. It's out of date now because the king has died. I'm sorry I've got to update this. But I use this, and I use the banknote in Thailand to illustrate the King Bhumibol, who was revered in Thailand. Unfortunately, the successor is not the same. But King Bhumibol, he was a great man. So I put this cover on, this shows you, this is an airmail cover. Sent It's by Pan Am. When Pan Am started to operate in Asia, Pan Am are now no longer flying. But for many years, they were the world's #1 airline. The only way you could get to England or anywhere, even in Malaysia, virtually, was you had to get to Pan Am, to Bangkok, to Rangoon, to Karachi, and went to Europe or America. Don't need to say much about these two items because they're South America again, but they just show where the countries are, so people know where the stamps are, you see. And this is important because this is a pre-stamp letter, and it's prepaid. In other words, years ago, when you put a letter in the post, before the post office, you went to what I call a shipping line or an agent and asked him, I need this letter to go to London or New York when I live in Malaya. Well, he said, you'll go to the shipping agent, and then he stamps it, and that means you pay to send it to. And most of the early letters were sent through coffee houses. You went to a coffee house, and I must just say one story here. I met Miss Teresa Xu in a coffee house in Penang, in the coffee bean. She met Sun Yat-sen in Armenian Street in 1909, and she was 11 years old. She died about 5 years ago now. She was one of the oldest ladies ever living, and she remembers going into the coffee house, and there they sent mail. They set mail from the coffee house to the agent to London in both. So you see this mail was before stamps, so it just has its mark on it. So that's why I illustrate that. This is a very nice penny black cover. AA, the number, first number of the shoe, penny black, first stamp, used in Scotland, and the letter inside is all about an insurance claim, but it's sent to a solicitor. In other words, in 1814, people still had claims. What about my insurance? Still had insurance. Now this is one book they bought out of China, because it's the Boy Scout. This is during Shanghai, when they ran out of money in China, and they used Mexican gold money. And the Boy Scout operated for 5 or 6 days operated the postal service, and they had a special label, and it was paid in with a cash rate equivalent to what I call the silver standard of money. This was when there was chaos in China, and nobody knew what money was good. Everybody had different monies, so they wanted to make a system. This is only a small card, but it's interesting because it's on the Everest expedition. And the first time they tried to get up Everest in the 1920s. And it's interesting because it was to raise funds. So they assisted to various people raise funds for the expedition. These I'm just showing you because this is a nice part of Sarawak to raise. This is one of the best cards known of Sarawak. It's got the oak. And this is North Korea. This is Vietnam. This is the postband here, and this is the postal star issued. The first time you've seen a postal star of Vietnam. Oh, sorry, here's the other rocket card here. The other rocket. There's everything, and I got all of that on the back. This is a card, what they call a coronation. They call a coronation postal card, which operated the first aeroplane service, and it went from Windsor because the Queen didn't mail on it. It went a small distance only and this place. Some of these cards, they believe there's one card now that's going to Malaysia. I've not heard of it, but it would be very rare. These are Tibet. This is the most difficult stuff in Tibet because 95% of the stamps are fake, especially on letters. These happen to be genuine. And Tibet is some of the greatest stamps of the world, but only just being understood because you have to understand Sanskrit and it's different types of Sanskrit. Tiny stuff. This is a colour here that just is Indonesia, just shows a nice part of life in Java. Because all postcard now shows that our life. Before we went to the post office and sent one, now we have email and all these things, and our texting and our phone, so we don't send it. In those days, this was the only way people could learn about Java. People had never been there, even from Malaysia. This is another one here. This is the hill types of Burma. Burma is another one in my country. Hill type here, and this is the hill types of Vietnam. I spent a long time in Petaling state in Burma. These are carrying. This is an interesting thing for you. This cover is a fake, but it's easy. What is it? I found it in the rubbish bin. Somebody else. So I don't think it would be a very valuable cover if it was genuine, but I'm pretty certain this is not the correct omission. It's very difficult to tell. You need a magnifying glass, and the letter itself looks genuine, and I think somebody put this stamp on. It's from Uttar, the Indian state. In each Indian state, and it's Raja, like Malaysia with its kings and so forth. In India, it's the same. and all issued their different stamps for a period of time. And so many of them, I think, this is certainly a treasure. And I think somebody gave it to me, and I think they found it in the box. And just to illustrate, you have to be a little bit knowledgeable in some covers. What I'm trying to tell you though is whatever cover you've got, you can make an interesting story with it. And most of these covers are quite inexpensive. They're not as if they're the great royal rarities, but they are good because of their usage. The fact they have. So if anybody, and now I'll have to really open up the questions and answers with everybody. Yeah, these are 1850, 55 patterns on penny red, so the 1850. And the first, this is not the plate. Can't see that. But they're quite, not bad, not bad condition. Not very good, no, but they're a little bit better than normal. They're worth more, they're not rubbish. The company is I think it's back at about £30. This is Spanish and Morocco. The photo, you know. There's Ireland and there's Czechoslovakia. Ireland and Czechoslovakia.
Mẹ. Ra cho chụp hình hai cô đụng hai cái